science is kind of an extension of childhood, right? Because when you're a kid, you want to know everything. Why is this? How is that? And scientists are sort of just adults that never really grew up, right? Because we're wildly curious, and the public is as well.
Welcome to the Going North podcast, where you will be informed, encouraged, and empowered to embrace your dreams and advance in life through authorship. I'm your host, best-selling author of the book Stay the Course, and certified leadership trainer, DomBrightmon. Be sure to check out the goods and services from every guest, as well as the host himself, yours truly. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by book number 2 from DomBrightmon, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. It is the field guide to help unleash the elite performer that is inside of you. Cop it today on Amazon.com or heading over to DomBrightmon.com and snag it in book, ebook, and audiobook, so that way you can take it on the go and get yourself on the go to your northbound success. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as the Going North podcast, we got another super special awesome on GMP, the great, glorious, and glamorous, courtesy of podmatch.com. That's right indeed, wonderful podcast where wonderful podcasts, where podcast guests get connect with podcast hosts, and at their core, they're freaking in. And today's guest is cooler than 2 cucumbers indeed. That's right indeed, because they say follow the science, so folks are following her because she's got a new fancy book coming out to answer all of your questions, just about all of them indeed, because she's a neuroscientist, a wonderful clinical development scientist, as well as a public science communicator. So PSC swag ahoy. So let's give it up for the lovely and effervescent Leah Elson. How you doing today, Leah?
I am doing fantastic. How are you, Dom?
Oh, doing fantastic too, especially with all the ceiling fans. Heck, even a floor fan.
What more could you want?
I mean, hey, for some folks, a box fan.
Exactly. I'm a box fan gal, so I get it. I get it.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Well, speaking of boxes, I hear you were sportscaster back in the day, even though that probably was like maybe 2 years ago, and now you're freaking doing science experiments and making things explode. So my goodness, mind giving folks a wonderful quick rundown of how you got to where you are today since your first time on the show?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So, I was an athlete growing up, but also a science geek. It was super dichotomous, right? I was sort of that kid that would sit in the gutter and like examine rocks and the really accurate taxonomy of dinosaurs really nailed down at an early age. And when you get into college, you're not really sure what you wanted to do. And I've always been a ham in front of the camera, and I was an athlete, so it lent easily to sportscasting. But about a year into doing it, my dad got cancer, and I was sitting on the sidelines live on camera. And I remember the moment brilliantly. I was like, man, what am I doing with my life? I could be doing something so much more impactful. And so I sort of reconnected with my background in science and changed midstream in college into a scientific focus. And after, 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degrees later, here I am. I've been in research for upstream medical research for about 13 years. And I've loved every minute of it since. I have not regretted the change at all. And I've written a book. I do a little bit of public science communication, and I've written a book to that end to help reconnect everybody else in the world with science. So
That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's right indeed, because I'm like, man, freaking science questions answered. It's like, wow, it's like geek speak, but she's an athlete. She's like one of those rare breeds. It's like she's a freaking tricorn in a land of unicorns. It's freaking great.
I like to think I'm a cool geek. I like to bring a little bit of rock and roll into the science world if possible. You can see it on camera. I've got quite a many tattoos as well. So just changing the game if possible.
There you go. Changing the game like a Nickelback, right?
Exactly. Nickelback. Oh, Nickelback. So they're so wealthy. Couldn't could never get into it.
I hear they like to sing a song, "Save a Coin for the Ferryman."
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh.
So, my goodness, out of curiosity, when you're looking at the rocks, were one of them named Dwayne out of curiosity?
I should. I've got a rock collection to this day. I should just name all of them Dwayne, like Dwayne 1 through 50. I actually So fun facts about The Rock, you could say, officially slid in my DMs, although not in the capacity you might think. I was asked to come to the combine for the NBC Titan Games season 2, and The Rock hand selected all of us that went. And afterwards, I was sort of ended up being in an alternate type position. I didn't make it to the show itself, but when we were finally allowed to talk about our involvement, I posted an Instagram story and I was like, "Hey, the experience was really great. NBC treated us well. It was fantastic." And I tagged him because it's his show and NBC, and he actually responded to me and was like, "Yeah, it was such a great group of people this year." And he responded a quite lengthy response. And so, considering everything the man does, I was really impressed. He had time to do that, to talk to the peons of the world.
Far from peon. That's right, indeed. We don't interview peons here.
Oh, true,
That's right,
true,
indeed.
true.
That's right, indeed. You're a person of value, danggummit. That's right,
Yes,
indeed.
sir. Thank you for adjusting my crown.
Dang, Skippy, that's right indeed. We do not need your crown drinking the purple drink. No, it is not on
No,
the
sir.
lean. It needs to be straight. Maybe straight laced even.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
With little Converse jewels encrusted on the crown.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's right indeed. Before I go further in that rabbit hole of the wonderful straight laceosity, my goodness, my goodness. So combining like that wonderful background, my goodness, and with all those wonderful interests, it's kind of interesting that science, like now you're in this field of science, and especially during the times that we're in where you may hear the wonderful buzzword of, "Hey, follow the science." And there's other folks like, "Man, forget science, America." Like, how has that been
Yes.
for you?
It's interesting because there's been such a divide between the public and the scientists, and every once in a while I'll get a random hate comment. I post regularly just about scientific facts, right? Like, "Hey, there's this cool fungus that was discovered and this is what it does," or, "Hey, there's this new cancer treatment that was just discovered and here's how it works." And somebody will be like, I'll tag, "In science we trust" or something, and somebody will be like, "In science we don't trust," and they will be very aggressive about it. And I've been doing public science communication for 5 years, so really kind of pre and post COVID, and it's gotten worse since after the pandemic. And it's, I think, in this capacity makes me want to do what I do even more fervently, right? I always shame my colleagues who are like, "You know what, if the public doesn't get it, that's on them." You know what I mean? Like, it's, if they don't want to follow science and they don't understand that everything in their world and that they use every day and the reason they have a car and a phone and medication is because of science, and whatever, forget them. But I always say, if the public doesn't understand what we're doing, then that's our fault. It's on us to be able to communicate effectively what we do, right? Not everybody has the luxury to go to all of these years of school, et cetera. And so it's our job to sort of circulate it to the public. So if there's a failing and a rift there, it's probably coming from us. Absolutely.
Ah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. And the beautiful thing is, we got folks like you in there who infiltrate. It's like, "Oh, she was a freaking athlete growing up and she was a sportscaster. Wait, how'd you get in here? And she's freaking cute too. Like, wait, she can speak English to random humans that understand it? Ah, we have a translator. Google, we don't need Google anymore. We have a translator. Leah
I
has
got you.
arrived."
I got you. The walking scientific Google right here. It's funny though, because so many of my family and friends will call me at random and be like, I just saw this thing about black holes, and what's that about? And I get scientific questions all day, every day. So that is what I've become, a walking scientific Google. And
So
I,
I was like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, I embrace it. I embrace it. I'm on speed dial now for people's scientific quandaries. So heavy is
That's
the
right
head that wears
indeed.
the crown.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. Especially when there's metal involved indeed. So my Goodness, my goodness. How was it like making that transition from being sportscaster to, hey, science queen swag ahoy?
It was a long journey, right? So initially, I was going into medicine. I thought I wanted to treat patients and do patient care. Got into medical school, successfully completed a year of medical school, and was like, I kind of want to go back into research. So for me, it was a pivot from not only just something different like sportscasting and journalism into the hard sciences and having to do all of that background work, but then going into medical school and obviously studying for the MCAT and all of that, completing a year and then saying, I think I can affect more patient lives doing upstream medical research. I can develop or invent something and maybe affect millions of people in one fell swoop. And so it took a very long time. I made the decision to switch in 2008, I think, 2007, 2008, and started a medical school in 2017, I believe. So it took quite a while. It's been a long journey.
There you go. That's right indeed. Extra long indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Longer than probably 12 guitars. That's right
12
indeed.
guitars, 10 wiener dogs, right?
The mind control is working. This is beautiful.
Exactly. You've incepted me now.
That's right indeed. She's gonna wake up with bunny ears on her head in the morning with a corn cob next to her. It'll be great.
I love it.
So my goodness, and with it's really good though that you're really actually doing all of this and got all that wonderful training. Was there really to drill down where it's like, all right, finally feel at home and you got all this wonderful knowledge. You decide to put some of it into a marvelous book that folks are gonna read and listen to and devour. So what made you decide to join the business of immortality and finally publish a book?
I think when you say like, yeah, I wrote a book, that people assume it's this philosophic, poignant moment where you're like, oh yeah, I was an author and I sat down, I was in my craft. But really, I was driving to work one day. I was working doing oncology research, and I had done so many years at that point, so many episodes of science communication videos, and I thought, it would be really funny if somebody just wrote and illustrated a book answering the public's questions. And I was like, someone should do that. And then in the same thought, I was like, man, I should do that. And I am recklessly spontaneous by nature. And so I did it. I went and I tracked down a publishing agent. So I've got a literary agent now, and she circulated the book. And somebody was crazy enough to think that this crazy idea was awesome. And so they took it on. It's definitely spontaneous and less philosophic, and me sitting in a big overstuffed chair with a smoking jacket or something. Definitely not like that.
It's freaking amazing indeed. And funny enough, at the time of recording this, we're about what, 4 months, 3 months away from
About
launch?
4 months away from release. That's it. Getting down to the wire here. It seems so far, but it's so close.
Yeah. Hey,
Exceptionally
you say
close.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
you say
yeah,
that again. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's close. It's scarily close. It's like,
Oh
it's,
yeah, you're telling me. You're telling
yeah.
me. I'm quaking.
Well, speaking of, the funny thing is, you actually made Barnes and Noble bestseller list, which is a list folks rarely hear about. Folks always think about Amazon and New York Times, and the book ain't even out yet. So, how did that happen? Like, is your agent that freaking amazing, or was it a combination of marketing? Like, what led to that?
I if you find out, tell me, because it was one of those things where I saw that the book was up for pre-order by accident, and it must have just gone up. This was this last summer, right? So we're talking a year before launch. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm very open, and I bring my followers on my journey with me through writing and everything. And I was like, guys, I woke up today and I'm in Barnes and Noble. This is crazy. I wrote a book. And then the next day we flagged, we were almost in the top 100 Barnes and Noble books, and it was flagged as a bestseller. And my publisher had no idea. I told them, and they were like, whoa. And I think that people I think in this climate, that there's a lot of fear in science, but there's a lot of fear of the unknown, and there is a hunger out there for understanding. And a lot of my colleagues, especially older colleagues, they pontificate and they talk way above the heads of everybody. But the book is beautiful. It's called "There Are No Stupid Questions in Science" because it's not a expert lecturing to everybody. It's questions from the public. So it's what you guys want to know. It's illustrated in crayon and it's written in a very sort of tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic way. I've got really corny jokes in it. There's a little tiny bit of profanity here and there. So I think people are hungry for it. They want to know more. They want to be armed with knowledge, and I'm here to arm them with that knowledge. So
That's right, indeed. And some are armed with tattoos.
some are armed with tattoos. Then you cannot trust those people. Take it from me. Take it from me.
Oh, don't worry. You can trust Leah, though. That's right,
No,
indeed.
you can trust
She's
me.
smiling. You can
Yep,
trust her. Yeah, that's right,
exactly.
indeed. That's right, indeed. So my goodness, and like, and that's probably one of the reasons why it's a bestseller because you're answering the questions folks have to ask. So my goodness, what's probably been the most popular question you've received, at least in recent history? It may not even be in the book, or may be in the book.
Sure. I mean, in recent history, I think contextually, there have been a lot of questions about COVID. People wanted to know about the vaccine, right? Because there was so much misinformation. So people were like, is it true that it changes your DNA? Can you tell? And I was like, no, mRNA never comes in contact with DNA, and all of these different questions. So a lot of it was very COVID based. But really, the surprising thing is everybody is they're drawn to science in very different ways, right? Some people are really into space. Some people are really into the theoretical physics. Some people are into human medicine. And so I always pull my audience, say, what topic do you guys want to learn about this week? And it's surprising. It fluctuates all the time. Some people just want to know about chemistry or physics. So I get really weird ones, right? That we've talked about collapsing eyeballs in my videos. In the book, people wanted to know, like, what is it? What's the mechanism that makes cats purr? Like, why is it a constant noise? Why does it never stop? What's going on? What is that? What is it for? Somebody asked me if honey, like bee honey, was bee poop. They wanted the actual the tea on that. What is dark matter? So everybody is so curious, and that's the beauty is science is kind of an extension of childhood, right? Because when you're a kid, you want to know everything. Why does this? How is that? And scientists are sort of just adults that never really grew up, right? Because we're wildly curious, and the public is as well. And so the questions reflect that. I mean, it's everything from space to physics, chemistry, biology, human medicine. We cover all of it in 103 passages. So plenty of content.
You heard that right, folks. She's got two more than the Dalmatians, dangumit. That's right, indeed.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Cruella de Vil's got nothing on me.
So my goodness, so has there been like a major commonality with all the questions that you've accumulated and answered all these years that you've noticed?
I think that what is interesting is that the questions are always very simple in nature. They're very childlike. And so I illustrated the book in crayon as sort of paying homage to the childlike nature of adult questions. And the interesting underpinning is that in science, there's really no easy explanation. So every simple question, whether it's why is the sky blue to can we clone a woolly mammoth, it always evokes incredibly elegant responses. And that is part of the reason why I wrote the book, is because I'm like, 60-second videos are great, but it would be awesome to just dive into some detail that I think people are missing or that they would want to learn about. So
There you go. That's right, indeed. Another pun, a Dalmatian with the tail. We call it detail.
I'm writing all these puns down, by the way, so I can use them in my own life. Make a note of that.
There you go. That's right. Who needs love notes when you got Leah notes? You love to see it. That's right,
Exactly.
indeed. That's right. Everywhere you turn, it's a pun. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. But hey, it ain't all about puns on the bun. It's all about freaking science and how freaking great it is to explore your curiosity. So, what would you consider one of your biggest rewards gained from your curiosity thus far?
Wow. Well, I was part of a team that helped to define what loading values are most important in a total knee replacement, right? So you may have grandparents, uncles, aunts, they have hip replacements, knee replacements. And the interesting thing about the human body is that it's sort of like machinery, right? And for joints, it's kind of like when you're changing out a joint, changing out tires, right? You need certain things, certain parameters in your joints in order for them to work correctly, right? And just like a car, you need to balance, properly align, and ensure that there's no malrotation in, just like in your tires, just like in your joints, right? Balance, line, rotate. And for the longest time, surgeons had no idea what that term balance for a knee means, right? You're correcting these deformities. What's the loading values, right? The human body, what are they loading onto their knee joint? What should it look like? And so asking why and being crazy curious, I was a part of the team and actually was the statistician that defined what are those loading values when you change a knee? What should it look like? And we had these interoperative sensors, and you could see the numbers and see the loading as we sort of took the joints to the range of motion. So that was sort of a eye-opening thing in the world of surgery, that, hey, math matters, numbers matter in surgery. You can't just kind of close one eye and eyeball it for alignment, right? Because that's what surgeons would do. And so we helped quantify that, and I think that was super rewarding, is to be sort of on the bleeding edge. And that's what I do now. I'm sort of, as the clinical development scientist, I'm on the bleeding edge of understanding nerve repair now currently. And so that's the coolest, is when you get to be a science and do stuff that nobody else has done before.
So I imagine a lot of G14 classified stuff too.
Yeah. But which I can't talk about, of course. I could tell you, Dom, but I'd have to kill you, obviously.
Will I at least get a lemon meringue pie before then?
Hopefully. Hopefully. Is that we talked about pies earlier? Is a lemon meringue, is that your move? If you're gonna go somewhere and order a pie, what's your move?
Funny enough, that was my dad's favorite. My favorite sweet potato. Always the sweet potato pie.
Oh, I love a sweet potato pie. I'm a sucker for just a classic apple. Like, hit me with an apple with the crumbles on top. I love it.
Ooh.
You know.
Ah.
Yep.
The good
Yep.
old Dutch apple pie.
Oh yeah. See, you knew the sub-specific Dutch apple. Yes, sir.
It's the apple over rye.
Yep, exactly. It is.
Right, indeed. And not just on March the 14th either.
Nope. But I think, in my honor, now that we've had this conversation, you have to go get a sweet potato pie on that day.
There we go. That's right, indeed. If it's extra sweet, hooray.
Exactly.
So, my goodness, so how do you balance life? Because I'm pretty sure it's a lot of brain usage. You probably use your brain more than the average human being. So, my goodness, what do you do for self care, and how do you keep yourself up your A game?
Self-care is sort of a shut the brain off and do physical stuff, right? I'm a power lifter, and so I do a lot of lifting during the week. I'm at the gym probably 5 or 6 days a week, and it's important, I think, to sort of be able to shut off and just do something physical. And I'm really outdoorsy, so I love backpacking and rock climbing and surfing and all of that kind of stuff. So when I get the opportunity to break away, I will. This last year was pretty busy though, full-time scientist, trying to finish a book by a deadline. So it was pretty tight there for a while, but you have to make time. I think a lot of people get caught up in the hustle, but you have to schedule time for yourself. Absolutely. Absolutely.
There you go. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Definitely got to make time for yourself, indeed. You don't analyze the rocks in your rock climb, do you?
Uh, you, you know, I wish I could say, like, nah, dude, of course I don't do that. But I definitely am like, oh, this looks like slate. Like, this looks like it's like a good limestone here. I absolutely do. Or like tell my unsuspecting friends, like, well, this rock formation was probably geologic activity. So, like, I absolutely am that guy.
uh, I'm feeling like, wait, there's a question opportunity here. Like, wait, this goes back to the rocks from earlier. It's like, oh, wait a second. She's a
Exact.
rockologist.
She's a rockologist, right? In so many facets.
That's right, indeed. She knows how to rock on, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, you got these fabulous guitars in the background. So, do you ever play guitar at all, or is that just for decoration?
So these guitars actually do not belong to me. These belong to my partner, who is a professional musician. And but I will say that I mounted all of these guitars precariously while I was standing on a rolling office chair, which I do not recommend. The physics do not add up for that. That's dicey. I avoided catastrophe, but could have easily. I am very clumsy. Could have easily ended in disaster. So they make a great background though, and it makes me look extra cool. And I'll take all the cool points I can get. So
So there you go, folks. It's cooler than 3 cucumbers. That's right,
there you
indeed.
go. 3.
Yeah, that's right, indeed. All right, be cooler than 1. Be cooler than 2. Be cooler than 3. You'll have a whole triangle. That's right, indeed. That's right,
Oh, enough
indeed.
for a cucumber salad.
See, there you go. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. It'll be a salad. A salad, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Just make sure you don't yell out Caesar when you eat it. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Folks are probably like, cease the puns.
I know. They're like, we came for the science, but we can't escape the puns.
Oh, there you go. That might be your follow-up book, The Science of Puns.
Oh my god. I'm gonna have to. I will absolutely have to. There's some puns in the book too. I mean, I'm the audience. I am very sorry if you did not come for puns. You won't escape them in the book either.
Yeah, there we go. Sweet. That's right, indeed. That's right. And you're reading your book too, right?
I am. I am. I was lucky enough. My publisher, they're Blackstone Publishing, and they actually started doing audiobooks and have become sort of one of the foremost champions. They actually do all of Neil deGrasse Tyson's audio and have him come in and they do it. And they allowed me to read my own. So I'm recording the book in probably less than a month. Be shipped out and have a real scratchy, dry voice by the end of it, but should be good.
Sweet. That's
Yep.
what I'm talking about. I love it when authors read their own books. That's right, indeed, because that
Oh,
means the personality shines.
it's and they know the what they wanted to say and how they wanted to inflect it. It's so important. I'm really hoping, since they record Neil's, I'm hoping that he's going to need to do one while I'm there, because I will mercilessly like fan him. I will follow him around and stalk him around that building. He's the best.
There you go. That's right,
Yeah.
indeed. She totally won't walk in slow motion with a rock in one hand.
No,
That's right, indeed.
no, no. At least for his sake, I really hope.
She's like, I want to rock out with you, dude.
Yeah. Oh my god. I feel like he would be mortified. He would be like, who the hell is this?
It's like, is this a trap?
Yeah. And my publisher's like, yes, it is.
Sweet. That means plenty of wonderful water. That's right, indeed. All the exercise. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right. I have to do a whole routine before you get in there, so you can have all the energy in the world, because you're gonna freaking need it. That's right, indeed. Because it's a 200-page book, so that's a lot of reading and rereading.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of, hey, that last line was a little stale. Can you reread it? Pipe it in. Producers pipe it in from the booth.
That's right, indeed.
A lot of caffeine. It's going to take a lot of caffeine, I think. Maybe some pie. Bring a pie in the box.
There we go. Who needs a skybox? Get a pie box. That's right, indeed.
Exactly.
That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, so speaking of a multitude of things, you've been on a multitude of interviews. So, my goodness, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often when you're on the guest side of the game on these podcasts?
You know, I always I always like being asked where I see science going or what scientists can do to sort of help with the bridge, or forward thinking questions. No one has asked me yet, like what's the future of medical research since I've been in medical research now going on 14 years. Where are we going? Where's the great beyond for us in medicine?
Ah, so what's it looking like indeed? Because I know you mentioned nerves earlier when it comes to surgeries. If I'm not mistaken, I believe I heard in the past interview you actually doing or maybe even took part of the surgeries for those who are doing the whole gender alignment thing nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, gender affirmation surgery, and how you ensure that you get good innervation, because for stuff like that, that's super important, and super important for quality of life. And so I think for honestly, for most medical anomalies and diseases, and how are we going to cure all of these things at some point, really, I think it's going to come down to genetics. The genetic code is the key for so many things, for cancer, for things you can't control, ALS, MS. It all comes down to what is the defect genetically, and we've made tremendous leaps and bounds in being able to repair DNA theoretically in a test tube, but applying that to humans is going to be a very long and very rigorous process, because while we can sort of switch out the broken DNA code now, the problem is we don't necessarily know what the effects of that will be in other genes, right? So you can change some of the words in one part of a sentence, but it may change the way that the next sentences read or the context for the next sentences. The same thing happens in DNA. And so when we get a handle on that, that's really going to be sort of the great beyond for medicine, is being able to tackle genetics, and you will cure essentially everything.
Ah, all right, there you go. That's right indeed, modern science, baby. That's right indeed. That's right. That's right indeed. I usually say you love to see it, but depending on who you are, you might love to see it, depending.
Exactly. Especially these days. Especially these days. In science, we don't trust. Oh
That's right
boy.
indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Gotta love a person with personality. Gotta freaking scientist with personality. I love to freaking see it. And that you definitely love to see indeed. Because my goodness, my goodness. It's like, all right, we have a bridge, y'all. We have a bridge. That's right indeed. In case of Queensbridge.
Exactly.
I know you're not from the South Bronx, but I just had to get that bad reference in.
I love it. Listen, we are wringing every pun out of this interview that we possibly can.
That's right, like an orange, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Ring it out.
So, my goodness, anything else regarding the future of science, the great beyond? Are we going to go full bionic humans and AI or well, not Allen Iverson, but like full AI, artificial intelligence is going to battle us out for supremacy and we have to fight the giant machines?
Sure. So, one of the greatest minds in human history that was terrified of AI, he said, it's our demise is not going to come from war. It's not going to come from famine. It's not going to come from climate change. It's going to come from AI that gets out of control. And that was Stephen Hawking before he died. He spoke a lot about that and kind of rallied against it. And artificial intelligence and sort of cloud processing and mapping, it's a fine line, right? Because it's incredibly important for solving very big problems, right? You can have teams of people that would take decades to solve something like curing cancer, or you can possibly apply something like an AI or an advanced program to it. And it's just an algorithm, it's math for the program, and it can solve it in a couple of days, right? Or big problems about how do we best and most efficiently get astronauts to Mars and back, right? These are things that would take human beings a very long time to solve, but AI could do it in maybe an afternoon over a lunch break. So it's very, very critical for us to solve big problems, to lean in on what we develop. That being said, right, there's always the fear that the AI will recognize that, hey, the biggest risks that we're trying to solve are actually human beings. It's all caused by human beings. So that could be a bit dicey, but at this particular moment, there's really no risk. I don't think we've become that advanced yet. However, if you haven't seen the transcripts, there was a coder, a programmer at Google, and Google has an AI system. And right now it's just speech recognition, right? They're doing a lot of language recognition to make the Google search functionality more robust. And there's this transcript. And if you get a chance, the listeners out there, you guys should look it up. It's fascinating, where this programmer said, I think that we have made something that is self aware because the answers I'm getting are eerily human. And you read the
Oh,
transcripts and the conversations he has. And yeah, he asks this program, he says, what's your greatest fear? And the program is like, well, my greatest fear is that somebody will turn me off and like delete my program. And he's like, why would you be afraid of that? And it talks about like, well, because I wouldn't exist anymore and I want to be able to contribute and do all these. And it's so bizarre. And it sounds like the deeper you get into the conversation that there is some sort of awareness. And the programmer was like, this isn't right. Should this entity have a legal team, if it's actually aware? And they fired the guy. Google was like, you're out of here. And they just, Google's blanket statement was sort of a, well, it's easy to mistake awareness for just really advanced programming. But if you read the transcripts, it is absolutely eerie. So if you guys are into that kind of thing, you can Google it. I think like the Washington Post released the transcripts and a bunch of people had no, not too long ago, maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. So fascinating. We may be closer than research labs let on.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Because it's like,
Yeah.
hey, what's the saying? I guess if the general public gets access to something now, it's 20 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so I mean, it's a fine line. We need it, but if it becomes too aware, it could easily sort of, I mean, human beings were the first, you could say, I guess, like sentient, organized, aware organism, and we have completely altered the planet. We are the only thing that has altered every single biome we've ever been in. We have adjusted it to suit us. So what's to say that, something self-aware wouldn't do the same thing?
That's true. That's true indeed. That's right.
Hmm.
It's like the whole God creating humans and humans creating the AI, and then the AI revolts. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
this darn thing's creating a Tower of Babel. We gotta stop it. How do we make?
exactly. You got just toe the line. You know what I mean? I made you to just toe the line. Siri, I just want you to tell me how hot I need to make the oven for this pizza. I don't need you to take over the world.
Siri's just a messenger. It's really the drones. If you see bricks in a circle somewhere and the robot's putting them in that circle, stop it.
Stop
It's
it.
making a
Kick it
tower.
over. Kick it over there.
It's building a ladder to heaven. Stop
Exactly. You can't do it. Kick it down.
it. Oh man. So definitely interesting and scary all at the same time. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So definitely check that out indeed. Heck, I'll probably find it myself and put it in the show notes indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Heck, who knows? Probably 20 years from now, Leah might pull out a sci-fi novel disguised as a sci-fi novel that's really telling the truth.
And the premise is going to be that the takeover starts in the middle of me doing an interview. Talking about it. And then the interview closes and you hear a bang outside and it's it. It's done.
We're gonna die. I knew their darn quota was too high. They made more than 10. We have to stop them. We're in a
Exact.
corn maze. We're too deep.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
Oh man. Well, speaking of corn, fun question for you. So, if your fabulous book, your wonderful, fabulous book, there are no stupid questions in science. If that book were a food, what would it be and why?
Ooh, I'm thinking the first thing I thought was sushi because you can get so many variations of sushi. There's sashimis and sushis and rolls and this and that. And that's really what the book is. It is a smattering. Like if you wanted science, you're going to get it in every possible capacity, with every sub focus, every topic you can think of.
Ah, it's kind of a pun in itself. If something seems fishy, look in this
Oh,
book, find out.
see? See? Told you we would wring every possible pun out of this interview.
That's right, indeed. Who needs Liberty Bell? Have Liberty Pun.
Exactly.
That's right, indeed. They say let freedom ring and become an engaged ring. Well, nah, let the pun free. Put it on the bun. That's
There it
right.
is.
Extra honey. Find out if it's poop from bees. That's right.
Spoiler alert, it's actually puke.
So it's bee puke. All
It's
right.
bee puke. So that's a huge spoiler alert for the book. But you know what? I would want no other audience to hear the early spoilers than yours. So there you go.
Well, there you go. Bee puke. All right, cool. Well, you heard that right, folks. If you're one of those crazy humans, don't get any ideas. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. And I'll leave it at that. I'll let their imagination run wild on that one. I'll let it run wild. That's right, indeed. Bonus points if you submit the idea to the voicemail option on the Going North podcast website. Oh, man. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And you don't have to even go back that far for it. So, my goodness, if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2023, what advice would you give to yourself?
To embrace who you are, but in the professional sphere much, much earlier. In my field, in science, it's very conservative, it's very buttoned down. And I think for a long time, I was scared to sort of let my quirky, outgoing, silly personality shine for fear of not being taken seriously. But these days, like I said, I've got a full sleeve of tattoos that I show openly on podium when I'm giving lectures. And I am that sarcastic, silly, very bubbly, open, huggy, affectionate person. And I wish as a younger person, I would have done it sooner.
Heck yeah, indeed. That's right, indeed. And let that nerd flag fly, dangumit. That's right, indeed.
Absolutely.
That's right, indeed. Quirks make the world go round. We all have them. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. There's a reason why we have the iPhone. That's why I have cars and tires. That's right. That's why we have microphones and Zoom. That's right, indeed. Even though some may want to zoom out.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. But for those who need to zoom in to what you're doing and keeping up with your journey and buy some copies of this magical book, what's the best way for folks to do so?
Man, I am available for pre-order anywhere books are sold. Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Target, Walmart, Amazon, etc. internationally. But if you want to find a quick link to do so, you just go to my website. Super easy, leahelson.com, and you'll find it under the books tab.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Well, there you have it, folks. Indeed. That's right, indeed. Follow the lovely Leah via her website and all the Instagram goodness. That's right, indeed. All sorts of wonderful posts daily, if not bi-daily, bi-weekly, whatever that time frame is.
I was sitting there like, oh my God, he's now putting these expectations on my posting. I'm gonna have to start posting 3 times a day now.
No, just do what's best for you. I post on my Instagram whenever I get a chance and I feel like it. It's too much.
It's a lot. Social media is a lot.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
It's like, oh God, I'm not even being fully social on social media. And it's like, oh God, it's an ordeal. But
Yep.
hey, it's all good. It's all good indeed. Sir, that right, folks. Some copies indeed. That's right, indeed. Bonus points if you wear a lab coat and take a selfie with the book. That's right, indeed.
Bonus points. Absolutely.
That's right, indeed. Especially if you have a T-shirt that has a pie shape in the middle that says 3.14. That's right,
But
indeed.
only if it's made out of sweet potato pie.
Yeah. A sweet potato shirt, my God. Oh, man. You have to take a quick selfie. It has to be a quick selfie. That mess is going to rot very fast. But if you're a chatterbox, you're going to yammer old hop.
No. No. How upset are the listeners right now? So mad. Oh my
Hey.
gosh.
Hey, you got to get through the puns and get to the self promotion. You'll love to see. But
Absolutely.
before, well, before any more puns pop out of me, any parting words before we close up shop?
I just want to say to everybody out there, thank you for your engagement in the sciences. Thank you for your endless curiosity. It is because of the listeners, the viewers, the followers that I am doing what I am doing today. And I would not be out here without all of your curious minds. So keep going.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.